Good morning and welcome. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I am Chris, and of course, that right there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing well. It's kind of a slow process. These are kind of like the dog days. There's not a lot going on in sports. So you look for different things to talk about, but always excited to talk sports.
Mo, we're going to start the show off today with something a little interesting, something to kind of get the people in the chat talking a little bit. And Mo, I didn't tell you about this, so I'm really going to hit you with this out of left field, if you will. But I want you to walk through the process with me and really, really work with me here, okay? I want to know, in your opinion, which one of these sports feats you think is the hardest thing to do? I'm going to give you 6 things. And I just want you to tell me off the top of your head what you think is the hardest and why. The first one is hitting for the cycle in Major League Baseball. That's a good one, I know. The second one is getting a hole-in-one on the PGA Tour. The third one is pitching a perfect game in Major League Baseball. The fourth one is the tennis calendar Grand Slam. The fifth one is bowling a 300. And the sixth one is hitting a 60-plus yard field goal. Which of those is the hardest feat in sports?
So for me, it's tough. I would narrow it down.
Let's go backwards.
Between two.
Yeah, let's knock off some of them. What do you want to knock off first?
You can knock the field goal off.
I agree. I think you can knock off the bowling one too. I know a lot of people who. I'm not saying
I'm not hating. I'm not hating on bowling.
I'm not hating either. But I know a lot of people who are not, top tier $1 million professional bowlers for a living that have a 300 ring in their closet somewhere.
Right.
So
my father-in-law is one of those. My father-in-law is one of those people.
There you go.
And he talks about it endlessly.
And it's a great feat. But I'm just saying, I think if there's a lot of guys out there, and women as well, who have bowled a 300 in their career. So we're knocking off the 60-yard field goal. We're knocking off bowling. So that leaves us with hitting for the cycle, a hole-in-one in the PGA Tour, pitching a perfect game, and the tennis calendar Grand Slam. What do you want to knock off next?
It's hard. I actually think that the tennis Grand Slam thing is super hard. That might be the hardest one. I think it's really between that one. For me, it's that one and pitching the perfect game, because so many things have to go right. It's not just that the pitcher's got to be on, his teammates got to be on too. Like I think those two are the hardest for me.
Yeah, I would take off hitting for the cycle next, because if you got speed and pop, you can do that every game. If you got speed and pop, you have the ability to wheel out a triple. And if you got pop, you can put it over the fence. And let's be honest, Mo, in this day and age, more people got pop than they did, 30 years ago in baseball.
Agreed.
So even little guys are hitting 10, 12 home runs a season. So I think hitting for the cycle comes off. And then again, just like with bowling, I'm not going to, I'm not saying anyone can hit a hole-in-one. But I think a hole-in-one out of all of these, I think that's the luckiest one, right?
I didn't want to say that word, but that's what I was thinking too.
Isn't it?
Anybody that's a golf lover out there, I know it's a game of skill, but to hit a hole-in-one, I'm not sure how much skill. I'm sure you aim that direction, but to actually hit a hole-in-one, I think luck plays as much into it as skill does.
Right, because I feel like, and again, I am not a golfer. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination. Same. I am not good at it. But I feel like if you are a talented golfer and you have the ability on a par 3 to put the ball on the green, you have the ability to get a hole-in-one. At that point, right? Like let gravity take over, let a lucky bounce take over. If you can hit a green on a par 3, then you're in the conversation for you have a chance to get a hole-in-one. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there, Mo, that can hit the green on a par 3. So I feel like you're all in the hole-in-one conversation. But to your point, I don't think there's a lot of people that have the ability to pitch a perfect game.
I don't
Just
either.
how many there are in Major League Baseball history, there's not a lot of them. And I was looking at some of the arguments this morning for the calendar Grand Slam, and I get it. It's just winning an event, but it's also winning 4 of the most prestigious events, or the 4 most prestigious events in tennis in the same year.
That's crazy.
Something that not many have done. So if you're looking at it, and this is how I kind of look at it, I think we look at it the same way. Which of these things have the least amount of people done? Because clearly those have to be the hardest. So Mo, now I'm going to make you pick one. Which one is harder? The tennis Grand Slam in a calendar year, or pitching a perfect game in Major League Baseball?
I'm gonna lean with pitching a perfect game. That's just so rare. That's just so rare. I know the tennis thing is unique, but I'd bet like just as many people have done that than they have pitched a perfect game.
I agree with you, and here's why. There's no point while someone is going for a tennis Grand Slam that the mindset on the other side changes, right? So Mo, if me and you are playing tennis, and if I win the set, I win a tennis Grand Slam, you're my 4th one. Nothing on your side changes. You're still playing to win. You're not angry that I'm trying to go for a Grand Slam. You don't feel a certain way about it. Whatever you're giving me is your normal effort that you would probably give anyone else in that moment. The same cannot be said in Major League Baseball. When a pitcher has a perfect game going, it's embarrassing for the other team, because that means you didn't get a single person on base. You didn't work a walk. You didn't get a hit. Nothing is going your way. So, Mo, there's always that moment in those games, like the 6th or 7th inning, when you got the speed guy up at the plate, and you're like, is he going to drop one down here? Is he going to try to drop a bunt and just get on base? Especially if it's a low-scoring perfect game. If it's 1-0 or 2-0 and it's a perfect game in the making, well, the game is still within reach. If you get a runner on base, now the tying run comes to the plate. So those little things start to happen in baseball, and we're not going to get into that, whether that's fair, whether that's, Bush League. I don't care about that conversation.
Hey, teams try to wreck it. I get it.
Correct. But my point, Mo, is someone's actively trying to screw around with what you're doing.
100%.
Whereas in tennis, they're just playing you. They're just giving you the normal level of competition. Whereas Major League Baseball players are like, they're taking it personal. Like, you're not doing this to me.
Right. You're not getting a perfect game against us. Exactly.
So for me, Mo,
that's why it's a lot harder.
I agree. I'm going to go pitching the perfect game is the hardest of those 6. Now, there could be harder sports feats out there, but these are the 6 that were on my list this morning. And then the tennis calendar Grand Slam will put second. Again, nothing against our bowlers out there. Like Mo said, his father-in-law has a 300 ring. Mo, is your father-in-law a multimillionaire off of bowling?
He is not.
Okay,
but man, he talks it up, Doug. I don't want to go too deep into it, but he talked to me about this before we were married.
Bowling is interesting to me, Mo, because they get, and it's not a Super Bowl ring, but I would say, it's a bigger version of a class ring when they bowl a 300. And like my grandfather, he had 13 of these things. But again, not making $1 million off of bowling. He was just a good bowler, and he bowled in like 3 leagues. So he had a lot of opportunities to do this, and he did it like 12 or 13 times. What do they do with the rings? Like, my grandfather wore 1. He wore his first one, and then when he retired, he swapped it out and he wore his last one. And, you earned it. By all means, do your thing. But I find it interesting, right? Because, and I know Super Bowl rings are a little more gaudy, but you don't see other professions usually walking around decking out their rings. Now, obviously, with the Chiefs, you can't wear that thing. That's golf ball on your hand.
Right.
But I just find it interesting that there's a little more pride with the ring when it comes to bowling than it
There
seems
is.
with some other. And
I
maybe it's
think
because
there
it's an
is.
individual thing. You did it by
And,
yourself, and it
and
was
it's
all
more
you.
community, right? But isn't it
Right.
more on a local level? You're one of the guys.
You're a legend almost.
Right. Yeah. You walk into the stores or whatever. People know you like, oh, that's so-and-so. Yeah, he bowled the 300.
Down at Tony's Lanes down on East and 3rd. Bill bowled that 300 last year. Woo! I was there for it.
Got a big picture of him up there. And it was like the first person to match Bill's 300 gets two big pizzas, a free meal, some kind of meal deal.
Yeah. And 2 large pitchers.
Yeah. Look, I think you're right. It does matter on a very local community level. There's just more pride in it for whatever reason.
Mo, let's move on a little bit here. It wouldn't be sports if at some point we didn't talk about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. So we're going to do that here. Kelly Stafford. We've talked about Kelly before. Kelly Stafford is the wife of Matthew Stafford, quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. Last time we talked about Kelly was during the preseason. She went on her podcast and she talked about how Matthew was struggling getting to know his teammates. Right. And he made a yearbook type deal so he could learn their faces and their names and whatnot. And, we said that Kelly was a little out of line. We said that she should have kept that in-house and not kind of blew up her husband's spot. This time around, she's not talking about her husband. She's talking about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. And she's basically talking about the dead time in the NFL. And that is from now until training camp picks back up. Obviously, we got the draft in there. Obviously, we got free agency in there. But we don't have really on-the-field activities until the summer months are upon us. And on her podcast, she basically said that she has little motivation to care or want or to see the relationship between Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift for the next 4 months. Because if you are a follower of the relationship, you're still getting to see it, right? Taylor is currently, I believe, in Australia. Mm-hmm. We just found out from some news reports that Travis isn't going to Australia. He's going to be staying here. And I think that's the stuff that Kelly is referring to. She doesn't need to see relationship updates. Where is Taylor? Where is Travis? Are they together? What are they doing? And she took issue with it. And Mo, before I get your reaction, and maybe you'll agree with me, I feel like, and let's be honest, Kelly's doing her own thing. She has her own podcast. If you look at these successful quarterback wives and these successful NFL wives, I think it's fair to put her into the conversation because she is doing things as a spouse to an NFL player that is building up her own brand and her own success. So I say that to say this. If it was Kelly that was a megastar, let's say she was a megastar media mogul in the podcast space or the talk show space or whatever space she's trying to grow herself in, and she was getting similar attention that Taylor Swift is getting, and by default, her husband, Matthew Stafford, was also getting even more attention than he would as an NFL quarterback, do you think she would feel the same way?
Absolutely not.
That's weird. That's strange. You don't think she would be like, man, I need a little less of me and Matthew in the news. They're just all over us. We need to disappear for a little bit. It's too much.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like she's the kind of person that would say something like, I'm not used to this kind of attention. I'm not really comfortable with this kind of attention. But when people say that, they're usually the people that want attention and they actually love the attention. She's not doing her podcast and trying to build a brand up because you don't like attention.
Right.
So obviously, you know what I mean? Like, you obviously like attention. And look, she says she doesn't need weekly updates about their relationship. I can understand that. But at the same time, you do realize that there are entertainment networks, there are entertainment reporters, and what do they report on? Stuff of that nature. Now, if ESPN is talking about it, that's weird. If Fox is talking about it, that's weird. If you and I are talking about it, it's kind of weird. But why is she sweating it? You know what I mean? Like, in what way does it impact her world?
Get off TMZ. That's who's
Right.
talking about it, right?
Right. Obviously, you're taking in information from a source that is about talking about celebrities and things of that nature. Get, like you said, get off of TMZ. Leave it alone. Walk away.
Right. I mean, I don't. Colin Cowherd's not talking about what Taylor Swift is doing. Stephen A. Smith isn't talking about what Taylor Swift is doing. So if you're going to a spot where that's what they want to talk about, just don't go to that spot, and go to spots where you're getting topics and news and information that you want to hear about, Kelly.
Exactly.
Because people will always talk about things that fascinate other people. So pick and choose where you go, and then take in the news and information that you want and move on and stop complaining. That's because essentially what she's doing is she's complaining that they're, as a couple, they're getting news coverage. I'm sorry, but if the tide was turned and you and Matthew were getting news coverage, I don't think you'd be upset about it. I think you'd embrace it. So let them live their lives and stop being jealous, because that's what I think it is. I think that I think it's a jealousy thing. I think that if she could do something where her and Matthew had their own reality TV show, and like, I think she would totally be all for that. And
Agreed.
she wouldn't be like, no, I don't want to be like Taylor and Trav. No, you do. Like you said, Mo, that's why you got a podcast.
That's why you have it, right?
That's why you say things like this. She knew that by speaking out against Travis and Taylor, it was going to get a headline, and it did. So
it was going to get a headline, and guess what? Just like there's an audience that wants to follow Travis and Taylor, there's an audience that is anti-Taylor, right? And
right.
She's speaking to those people that are like, oh, I'm so sick of her, right? She knew what she was doing. She was feeding into a particular kind of audience, looking for a response, which she did get.
Mo, I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Tannenbaum. Mike Tannenbaum used to be in the Miami Dolphins front office. He's been in many
GM.
Yeah, he's been in many front offices across the NFL. I think he's an absolute tool. There's not many people in the sports world who I don't like. Josh Allen is one. The people who voted for NFL Comeback Player of the Year, they're another one.
But you don't care about that, though.
I don't care about the award. I just care about the process. And Mike Tannenbaum is another one. And Mike Tannenbaum, I think, is one of the biggest idiots in the world of sports, because he just says things that are just nonsensical and don't make sense. And he doesn't say things like, I respect Skip Bayless, right? When Skip says things, I know what he's doing. Skip is an entertainer. And I don't have an issue with media personalities whose first job is to entertain, create headlines, create shock and awe. Oh, Gene brings up a great point, because that's another one. And Chris Sims does not fall into the entertainer category either. He just falls into the I have terrible, terrible takes all of the time, but yeah, I still have a job category. So Mike Tannenbaum, and I believe he was on Get Up. I'm not even sure what show he was on, but I'm 99% sure that he was on Get Up. And they're talking about Russell Wilson. And out of nowhere, Mike Tannenbaum hits the panel with this, Gene. Mike Tannenbaum thinks, and he was dead serious. This wasn't a ha-ha, he. This was an honest-to-God take from Mike Tannenbaum. He thinks that Russell Wilson should sign a $1 million contract with the New York Jets and back up Aaron Rodgers this season. Now, I know, hang on.
Okay.
I know, because I had this conversation with someone else, and they thought about it for a minute, and they're like, well, maybe what he's thinking is Aaron's going to get hurt again this season. And then now you got Russell Wilson as your quarterback, and now Russell's probably your quarterback for the future for the next 3 or 4 years. No, that's not what he was saying, Mo. What he was saying is Russell needs to back up Aaron Rodgers, because it would benefit Russell Wilson's career to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a year. I'm sorry. Are we not talking about the 35-year-old Super Bowl Russell Wilson? Is that not who we're talking about right now? You think he needs to go back up Aaron Rodgers for a year to benefit his career? Mo, what the hell are we talking about? And
as
you think he should take $1 million?
ages. Right. So take a hellacious pay cut that's unheard of to back up a peer who's won as many Super Bowls as you've won.
Correct.
Who you're younger than, but you will age being on the bench. So you think other teams are going to look at the year that Russell Wilson spends backing up Aaron Rodgers and go, I'm going after the 36-year-old guy who hasn't played in a year.
Right.
That is all-time next level dumb. That doesn't make any, and he's a he's a GM. He's been a team president. What is that? What is that? Even Aaron Rodgers would be like, that doesn't make any sense. That is insanity. First of all, just the idea that, yes, I think wherever Russell Wilson does end up, he will take some kind of a pay cut. But he's not going to pay
$1 million.
Right, he's not going to play for $1 million. And he's not even playing. He's actually getting paid $1 million to sit and watch.
Well, someone's got to hold the clipboard for Aaron, number one. And number two, I mean, clearly at this point in his career, Russell needs to learn. I mean,
look, I think we can both agree Russell Wilson isn't the quarterback that he was, but do I still think he's a capable starting quarterback? Yes, he is. And the idea that he would sign off on that idea. First of all, for him, he'd have to be like, that sounds really solid. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Because I can learn so much from the guy. What is Aaron about to hit 40? Who's 5 years older than me? And like I said, I'm not saying that Russell is on Aaron Rodgers' level in terms of talent and accomplishments, but they have won the same amount of Super Bowls.
And let's I don't want to be fair to him, but let's be fair to Tannenbaum and at least give the background of what he was thinking. The premise for this entire idea is the fact that nobody in the NFL is going to let Russell Wilson be their starting quarterback next season. That's his premise. He has signed off on the idea that Russell Wilson will not be a starting quarterback next season. So as a result, he needs to go somewhere. And in his mind, if he isn't a starting quarterback, the best place for him to go be the backup is the New York Jets. Again, not because it could lead to him starting, not because he's an insurance policy if Aaron gets injured, but he literally said so he can sit behind Aaron and take in being with Aaron for a year and then go be a free agent somewhere else. Yeah, that was his entire premise. Well, let's just real quick, let's go through the teams. The Patriots don't have a quarterback. I'm not saying he's a fit for all these teams. Let's go through who needs a quarterback next season. Patriots don't have a quarterback. The Raiders do not have a quarterback. The Steelers do not have a quarterback. I don't know what Cleveland is going to do with their quarterback situation.
Right, because Flacco's not coming back, let's assume, right? That was a one-off.
The Titans have a little bit of murkiness in their quarterback situation. That's in the AFC. Let's go to the NFC. What is Washington doing with their quarterback situation? Geno just got paid, so he's probably staying in Seattle. The Bears are going to draft. We don't know what the Vikings are doing.
Are the Vikings bringing back? Right. Or what about Cousins and the Vikings? Right. So they're up in the air as well.
What are the Falcons doing with their quarterback situation? That's a quarter of the league. A quarter of the league has question marks at the quarterback situation. Yeah, some of them are going to hit it in the draft. But if you're not drafting the first or second or third quarterback off the board, maybe you need a stopgap. Maybe you bring him in for a year while you get your rookie quarterback ready. Mo, he's going to be starting games in the NFL next season. I'm not saying 3 years from now, at 38 years old, Russell Wilson is still a starting quarterback in this league. If I had to put money on it, I would probably say he isn't. But if I had to put money on if he is a starting quarterback, pending health, week 1 next season, yeah, he's a starting quarterback for a team week 1 next season.
I would agree with that. Look, I think the worst case scenario for Russell Wilson is he will be some team's bridge quarterback, like you said. And there's no shortage of teams who need a bridge quarterback. There are teams right now that if they have a solid, capable quarterback, they're probably playoff contenders. The Steelers somehow got into the playoffs, and they didn't have that all year long. Russell Wilson is a clear upgrade for anything they have on their roster right now. He's an upgrade for anything the Patriots have on their roster right now. We can go down the list. He's an upgrade for what the Falcons have, and so on and so on. So, look, I'm with you. I don't know what the future holds for him, but going into this current season, he will be starting for some NFL franchise. And why wouldn't he? At the end of the day, he is a competitor versus the idea of sacrificing a year of his career to sit and watch Aaron Rodgers play football.
I'm blown away. I'm so blown away that was a legitimate take on a legitimate sports TV show. And in all fairness, the people around him, it was hands up in the air. Like, what are you saying? But Mo, this man used to evaluate talent in the NFL as a career. That was his job. He was a talent evaluator. And now look at what he is doing. We spoke a second ago about Kirk Cousins. There is some Kirk Cousins news in the air this week, Mo. Apparently, the Minnesota Vikings are not willing to give Kirk Cousins a guaranteed deal. And as a result of not being willing to guarantee the contract, that could be a potential hang-up with Kirk Cousins returning to Minnesota. Mo, I look at that and I think this. We both know what the NFL is. It is a quarterback-driven league. We both know that teams like the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns are the exception to the rule. It was a great year for the backup quarterback position in the NFL this season.
Great.
100%. But when it comes to Minnesota, if they cannot find another option that they are comfortable with at the quarterback position, they're going to go back to Kirk Cousins. Because if your options are Kirk Cousins for a couple years on a guaranteed deal, or rolling with a quarterback you don't really have faith in, whether it be somebody that's currently on your roster or some other free agent option, you need a quarterback. You need a quarterback in that division. You need a quarterback if you're going to have success in the playoffs. So I'm not saying at this point right now, Minnesota should be giving in to Kirk Cousins if that's actually what he wants. If Kirk Cousins is saying, listen, you either guarantee me the money or I'm not signing, Kirk Cousins can say whatever he wants, Mo, because we haven't had the draft. We haven't gone through free agency. We haven't had the opportunity to make trades. We are a million layers away from understanding where we're going to be come training camp. So right now, Kirk can say whatever Kirk wants to say, and Minnesota can sit there and say, okay, we're not really feeling that right now. And they have every right to do that.
And it's a waiting game.
It is. The sky is the limit right now for Minnesota because we don't know how things are going to unfold. Maybe Russell Wilson goes to Minnesota. I don't know. But the point is, we don't know. Now, if we go through the draft and we go through free agency and Minnesota hasn't found clarity to their quarterback situation, now Kirk has some leverage. Now Kirk can come back and be like, you're gonna roll with Dobbs? Is that what you want to do?
Right.
And maybe they do. I don't know. But the point is, Mo, at this point, I agree with Minnesota. We're not gonna start talking guaranteed money and things that could potentially hurt the franchise when we're not being held hostage yet. Maybe 100%. Later on we find ourselves in that situation, but we're not in it right now.
I'm with you on being on the Viking side, but I am looking at it from Kurt's side, and I think maybe he's just resolved himself to this possibility. If they don't give me what I want, I'll be a starting quarterback somewhere else for sure. Like I said, I actually think Kirk Cousins has more value than Russell Wilson does right now.
100%.
So if the Vikings go, we're not going to give you that, Kurt's like, well, you're not going to give me that. I'll be starting for the Falcons next year or for the Patriots, and he'll do a great job as well. So I think I'm not saying he's ready to leave Minnesota, but I don't think he fears leaving.
There's a big name wide receiver up there in Las Vegas that apparently is not being traded to Aaron Rodgers. He needs a quarterback too.
Desperately needs a quarterback.
And by the way, what do you think of that? The Raiders coming out and saying, "Nah, we're not trading him. We don't really care if the Jets want him." I like it.
You know what? I just like it because everybody's not kind of caving to the will of Aaron, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing you no favors. Why would we do that? Even if we don't get him a quarterback, we're not giving him to you. I like that. It's kind of petty, but I'm cool with it.
I'm cool with it too. Let's talk. I teased this yesterday. We're going to talk about it today. We've had some time to digest the Super Bowl. We've had some time to digest players not knowing the overtime rules. And I want to talk specifically this morning about the overtime rules in general. And a few players made this point in the week after the Super Bowl, and a few other analysts made this point as well. One of the biggest things in the NFL, whether it be regulation, whether it be overtime, is situational football. We always talk about who does better in situational moments. And whether we're talking about head coaches or quarterbacks or offense or defensive coordinators or play design, we're constantly talking about situational moments. And 9 times out of 10, those situational moments are somehow associated with the clock, whether it be the final 2 minutes of a half, the final 2 minutes of a game, whether it be we're leaving too much time on the clock for the other quarterback to get the ball back towards the end of the game, whether it be trying to put together a 4 or 5 minute drive and just slowing tempo down to run more time off the clock because our strategy is going to be hang on to the ball as much as we can this game to keep the ball away from the other guy. There's so many conversations in the NFL that involve the clock in one way or another. And there's so many criticisms in the NFL that come because of the clock. Well, he blew a timeout 2 minutes into the third quarter. I bet you he wishes he had that timeout now because now they're trying to go win the game late in the game when they're down a timeout. He shouldn't have blown that timeout earlier in the third quarter. That's on him. That could cost him this game. That's poor management. We're still relating it to the clock. Mo, I talk all this clock because now the playoff overtime rules get rid of all that. Time no longer matters. All that matters is scoring. So playoff overtime rules say the following. Doesn't matter what happens for the first team who gets the ball. Field goal or touchdown, the game continues. Whoever gets the ball second, if they match what the first person did, the game continues. Once the game continues to that third possession, sure, Mo, next score wins, but there is no end. If we play 2 more quarters and no one scores, we play 2 more quarters and no one scores. Doesn't matter how much time is left on the clock. Doesn't matter if we're getting down towards the end of a quarter. The time is no longer an issue. So, Mo, I ask you this. Does that hurt the game of football? Because if you look at regulation or overtime in the regular season, so much strategy and situational coaching and play design and play calling is based on the clock. How much time is left? Where are we? Now, Mo, none of that matters. It could take you forever. Doesn't matter. The clock is not going to hurt you. Is that a good or a bad thing?
I think the jury's still out on that. What I would say about the current overtime rules, I think there's still an improvement from the old one. It was too easy for the first team to get the ball. If they scored, they won the game. To me, that was too easy. And look, Josh Allen could make the argument. I could have gone to a couple of Super Bowls had I got the ball first. That happens. And so I do like it that both teams get the opportunity. I'm not sure it hurts the game. When you bring it up, it hasn't happened yet, but I think we're due for one of those epic games. It's coming where, like you said, Team A kicks a field goal, Team B kicks a field goal, then nobody scores for like 10 or 15 minutes straight. And it's just a defensive battle. And that might be a great football game where you're like, I don't know about the scoring, but that was great defensive football for the next 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm not against it, but I always think that when the NFL comes up with these new rules, you can always improve upon them. So I don't know yet if it's hurting the game. I think it's still in its early stages. So I think the jury's out, but there's always room for improvement.
I agree. I don't know what that improvement looks like. I mean, in theory, you could do something where because the game has to have a winner. So you can't end in a tie. So I don't know how you would ever create a situation where the clock matters when you can't end in a tie, unless you did something where at the end of the quarter, you stop and you flip a coin again, and you basically start the game over. So at that point, the clock doesn't matter in the sense of the game's going to end, but the clock does matter in the sense of you could lose a possession. But right. I don't think I would sign off on that. I don't think I like that rule, but I think that would be the only conceivable situation where you could do anything to make the clock matter in a moment where it can't end in a tie. So to your point, Mo, I don't think it will ever change to where the clock matters again. But again, that doesn't mean we're not going to see good football. I think something could be said if it goes to the third possession, because now the question becomes, how far are we going to push it? Because now we know a field goal ends the game. So if we're, 4th and 2 at our own 48, are we really going to go for it, knowing that if they just get 10 yards, they're in field goal range, knowing that if they don't even have to get a first down, they can get 9 yards and probably be in makeable field goal range. So maybe at that point they're punting the ball because they don't want to risk it. And now maybe we're seeing less aggressiveness on the offensive side because they don't want to come up short and put the other team in field goal range. So I can see it kind of going back and forth a little bit. Obviously, we haven't seen it happen in actuality, so we don't know.
Not yet.
Also, let's be honest, we don't see a lot of overtime games in the Super Bowl.
This is true.
So it's not like this is a thing where we're going to see it every year. We might go the next 10 or 15 years and not see one again. So
this is true. More times than not, we've seen quite a few blowouts in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
So you're right. Or games that are decided long before time expires. You're right. It is not a thing. And so yeah. Look, it's funny you said that if you're at the 48 and it's 4th and 2, would you go for it? I wouldn't if I was confident in my defense. Right? But if my defense is struggling, a la the Niners, I'm going for it. Especially you also have to know who the other guy is on the other side of the ball, right? I'm going for it if it's Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball. If it's another quarterback who might not be as poised or who may be turnover prone, I might kick the ball and take my chances.
To Gene's point, there's only been two times it's ever gone to overtime. So it's not like we see it all the time, Mo. We may not see it for another decade. So again, it's kind of a moot point because it's not something we're going to see consistently. But the next time we do see it, I hope it gets to the third possession, because I want to see what that strategy actually plays out like, to see if there was something to what Kyle Shanahan was saying. But Mo, let's pivot to this. I know you are a fan of the Los Angeles Lakers. I know that you respect game, and obviously LeBron James has game. But Mo, I want to set you up with a premise, and then I feel like you're going to disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. I think LeBron James is single-handedly responsible for the complete failure of All-Star Weekend. Complete failure, with the exception of the 3-point contest. All right.
Really?
Yep. And here's why. So I saw Gene put a stat up last night on his show, and it was showing the ratings of the All-Star game dating back.
I saw that. Yeah.
Dating back to Michael Jordan's last All-Star game, which, by the way, was the last time the All-Star game ratings passed 10 million. Okay. LeBron James is he received the torch from Michael, right? So I look at LeBron, and fair or not, and a lot of people will say it's not fair, and I don't care. You are responsible for what happens in the league while you are the face of the league. When Michael Jordan was the face of the league, Mo, anything that Michael Jordan was involved in, it was a damn competition. It didn't matter. If you're doing warm-ups with Michael on the court and you start knocking back a few in a row, you damn well best know Michael's going to start knocking back a few in a row because you're not going to walk off that warm-up thinking you just outshot Michael Jordan. That's not going to happen. So if Michael thinks you're getting a little competitive, Michael's going to ramp it up, and it's going to be a little competitive. And more times than not, he's going to walk out with you saying, damn, that Michael Jordan is pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, I see you, Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan competed in all-star games, there was not going to be a moment, if Michael could help it, where Michael looked bad. It wasn't going to happen. Michael Jordan went there to compete. He didn't step on the basketball court, Mo, to talk to people. He didn't step on the basketball court to hang out and have fun. If he was there, he was competing. Now, he might joke around with you on the sidelines. He might joke around with you when he's not in the game. But Michael was the definition of competition. When you pass the torch to LeBron, and LeBron's built different. I get it. It's fine. I don't think he has the same personality as Michael Jordan.
Agreed.
But when LeBron becomes the new face of the league, when LeBron becomes that guy that people kind of fall in step behind, and LeBron takes the personality of, it's just the All-Star game. It's just the dunk competition. Mo, do you realize that LeBron James is the only above-the-rim player to not compete in the dunk competition up to his point? Obviously, there's been guys after him that have chosen to not compete. But if you look at leading up to LeBron and you said, who would compete in a dunk competition? Who are the above-the-rim superstars of the NBA that would put on a show in the dunk competition?
And most did.
They all competed.
Right. Vince, Kobe.
Right.
You name it.
A lot of them won. LeBron said, no, I don't want to do that. It's not me. And then what happened? People started following suit. And Mo, where are we today? Back-to-back dunk champion, the G Leaguer. This is NBA All-Star Weekend. This is the biggest stars of the NBA doing the coolest thing in the NBA, right? What is more iconic in sports than a slam dunk? Hitting a home run, throwing a long touchdown. These are all the iconic things that you do in your backyard and you dream to do on the grandest stage and the biggest lights and the biggest moments. And we got the G Leaguer who 99% of the league, the fans don't even know who he is. They definitely didn't know who he was last year when he came up and won it the first time.
Right. No shade against Matt McClung, though. He did his thing.
And you might know him this year because he won it last year. But Mo, how long ago was it when Jordan was in the dunk contest, and Kobe was in the dunk contest, and Vince was in the dunk contest? Hall of Famers were in the dunk contest. I get it, LeBron. You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to lose. Your ego can't handle if you lose the dunk contest to somebody.
That part right there. He doesn't want to lose. And he thinks his mindset is, it's not just losing, it impacts his brand, right?
Does it?
I don't think it does. If you compete against somebody else, and so let's say he competed against Aaron Gordon and he lost to Aaron Gordon in the finals in a dunk off. I actually think it would elevate his brand because LeBron went out there and competed. We already know he's the superior player by far, right?
Right.
It doesn't water down how great a player LeBron James is. It's kind of like, to a far lesser degree, the fact that Jaylen Brown competed in the slam dunk was cool. He's an all-star. Very few all-stars don't compete in the slam dunk no more, but he competed. Now, he wasn't great at it, but he actually went out there and competed. I would love it if LeBron had competed. I'd love it if he still did it now in year 20. And
Mo, have you ever looked at Jordan and been like, he's great, but one year he was in the dunk competition, he didn't win, so I think I gotta knock him down a peg for that guy? No one does that. When you're talking LeBron and Kobe, even today, when you're talking LeBron and Jordan, no one's like, well, LeBron didn't compete in the dunk competition, but Jordan did, so I got to give Jordan. No one talks about that, Mo.
Right.
Because that doesn't equal your greatness. That doesn't equal when it's all said and done and people are just looking at what your career was and are you top 5, are you top 3, are you top 2, no one has that conversation. This conversation is the legacy you left on the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start talking about the legacy competition, Mo, I don't think LeBron comes close to Jordan. Because I think Jordan was 100% about competition. Now, I will tell you this right now, and I've seen the stories. Jordan was a selfish SOB. He did not want to look bad, and a lot of reasons he did this was to not. It's almost the same, but opposite, right? Like Jordan so much didn't want to look bad, he had to go out there and tear you down. He had to go out there and make you smaller. He had to go out there and make an example of you. There was a story I saw on YouTube the other day. Jordan was playing for Team USA, and I think they were playing Puerto Rico. And the story was from Charles Barkley, and Charles was talking about how the day of the game, it was Jordan and Charles and a couple of other, Pippen was out there, and a couple other guys, and they're playing 18 holes of golf. And they finish up their round, and they're going to go back and relax because they got a game that night. And Jordan's like, hey, let's go another 18. And they're all like, nah, bro, we're good. We got a game in a few hours. We're going to head back. So they leave, and Jordan plays another 18 by himself. And then they're getting ready before the game, and they're giving out the assignments. And Jordan's going to cover the 2 for the game. And Jordan's like, no, I want to cover the 1. And coach is like, you want to why do you want to cover the point guard? And Jordan's like, I saw the comments in the paper this morning. He said he thinks he can take me. No, I'm taking him. And after playing 2 rounds of 18, Jordan stuck to this smaller, faster guy like Velcro the entire game to prove a point, to knock him down a few notches. So Jordan goes the extra mile to make sure he doesn't look bad. LeBron goes the other way and just doesn't show up sometimes to avoid potentially looking bad. They're both doing the same thing, Mo. So I'm not saying that one is more selfish or less selfish than the other. But my point of this entire conversation is the league falls in line with that person. If you're playing in an all-star game against Michael Jordan and you're going in there thinking this is a game off for me, I'm just going to hang out a little bit, and then Jordan checks you, and you're like, whoa, Mike, what are we? And he does it again. Now you're like, all right, not Mike. Let's knock it off a little bit. Then he does it a third time as a competitor. You're like, all right, I guess we're doing this, Mike. I guess we're doing this. Right. And now you're engaged. Now you're there. No young guy is going to go up in the All-Star game and check LeBron. No, wouldn't have the balls to do it. You would be destroyed in the media. What are you doing? How dare you do that to LeBron James? This is just the All-Star game. No, just the All-Star game.
That's the problem now.
Right?
That's the problem now. It's just the All-Star game. And look, I want to add another player to that. Everything you said about Jordan is spot on. That would apply to Kobe as well in the All-Star game.
100%.
Kobe was maniacal about competing, and Kobe made the argument, you guys play hard at pickup games at North Carolina and UCLA in the offseason, but you don't want to play hard in the All-Star game. And Kobe was about that. And I do agree that guys follow suit to the face of the league. The face of the league is still LeBron James. And if he's telling the guys, it's a vacation, guys, we're taking off. I'm not doing the slam dunk. And in the game, it becomes a layup line. Like the game has progressively gotten worse and worse. I checked out after the first quarter. I was a little excited because Halliburton had got off to a fast start, and I'm a fan of the young man. But you could tell a 50-point first quarter, there was going to be no defense played. It wasn't even a game. It was just an exotic layup line, and I do think LeBron should take some fault in that because he's the face of the league. If you play hard and you're the guy, and I'm not saying play hard for the entire game, but if you play hard, other guys are going to fall in line and go, it's a competition. I'm not going to get showed up. It used to be that way, and I get it. In the All-Star game, even in the past, yes, there's an element where it's kind of a show, but there becomes a point in time when it's competition, right? All the way, when guys really get after it, and they don't do that anymore. Guys don't get after it. And I feel like it's gotten to the point now, Chris, where it's very much like the Pro Bowl. I don't want to watch that. Come up with more competitions or little games or whatever. It would be an upgrade from the product that the NBA is putting out there right now. Matter of fact, do something exotic. Have a 3-on-3. I don't know, 3 WNBA players versus 3 NBA players, or mix it up, mix match it, guy, girl, guy, however you want to do it, and that would be more entertaining than the project, what they put out there. That was shameful, and I get it. You make a strong point that LeBron's impact greatly affects how the All-Star game has evolved or devolved, if you want to look at it. Because guys, they take their cue from him. He's the guy. He is the face. And I know he doesn't feel that way. I'm sure he's like, come on, man, it's just the All-Star game.
I'm just one guy. You're not gonna blame me. I'm just one guy.
Well, you heard him when I don't know if you saw the interview where they asked him at the All-Star weekend about, I'm getting closer to the end of this. And he goes, I don't know if I want to do a farewell tour because I don't handle getting attention and praise very well. And I'm like, what? What? LeBron James is an all-time great player. We both agree on that. Nobody debates that. But come on, man. A big part of your career is pointing out to people how great you are and how you want to be loved. It's a thing to you.
Did they ask him about the farewell tour, or did he bring it up on his own?
No,
he's known for that. He's known for his bringing things up that we weren't talking about.
Well, I don't know how the subject came up, but it came up, and he did like, I don't know if I'm gonna do a farewell tour or not because I don't really handle praise, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You live for praise. Come on, man.
This is the same guy who wants active players to be in the Hall of Fame.
Good point. Great. Good point. Right. Why can't we already? And that really was for his benefit, right?
Correct. Mo, fun fact for you here. In 1993, there were 62 fouls called in the 1993 All-Star game. 10 years later, it dropped to 37. In 2013, it was down to 24. Last year, it was 7. This year, it was 3.
And those were probably by accident.
Correct. They just couldn't get out of the way fast enough.
Right. He's like, I was trying to move out the way, man. My bad.
I wasn't trying to touch you.
Right. It wasn't like I was trying to guard you.
This is a vacation, guys. Come on.
Right. Come on.
No one's out here actually playing basketball.
I also blame Adam Silver. I think he's a good commissioner, but I think he's gone overboard with being a players commissioner. The players love him, but because the players love him, I feel like they can kind of push him in the direction that they want him to go. And look, love or hate David Stern, I thought David Stern had more of let's say he had more power and more control of the league when he was running things.
Mo, our last segment today is going to be something new that we're doing here on the morning show. It's called the Morning Show Mailbag. And the way that's going to work is that, every now and then, 3 or 4 times a week, we'll take one listener's comments or take or feedback, and Mo and I will discuss it right here on the show. And we'll tell you what we think. We'll tell you if we think it was a good take. We'll tell you if we think it was a trash take. Full disclosure, if you give us a bad take, we're going to tear you apart. Give us a good take, and we'll give you all the flowers that you deserve. So insert your takes at your own risk. How can you insert your takes? You can put them right here in the chat. You can send us some messages on our TikTok. You can drop some messages on YouTube. There's many ways you can get us the message. But however you do it, we will see it, and we'll pick a handful every single week. But before we get to our first morning show mailbag, I wanted to hit you with a little knowledge. Every team in the NFL, every team but one, every team in the NFL has started a rookie quarterback at least one time since 2012. Okay. One team has not started a rookie quarterback since 1987. Any idea who that team is?
Since 1987?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a clue.
Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Aaron wasn't a rookie.
Aaron sat for Aaron sat. Yeah, there it is.
And Jordan
then,
Love wasn't a
he
rookie
sat.
either.
Yeah,
Yep.
there it is.
1987 is the last time a rookie quarterback started for the Green Bay Packers.
And who was that?
I have no idea.
Because I was gonna say, was it Lynn Dickey?
Because it wasn't Brett. Brett was already in the league, right?
I think it was. Yeah, Brett was in Atlanta. I think it was Lynn Dickey, maybe.
All right, Mo. Here is the morning show mailbag. It comes from Jarrett Bailey. Jarrett says, "I went back and watched each one of Josh Allen's 18 interceptions this season." That's correct, Mo. 18. Let's not forget that number. 18. To see how many of them were bad decisions, bad throws, or had any real impact on the outcome of the game. To the surprise of no one who actually watches Bills games, the results paint Josh Allen in a much better light than those who just sit around and point to the box score. Mo, last night I sent you a YouTube video of all 18 of Josh Allen's interceptions. And the person who made the video took it upon themselves to point out what they felt were good throws and bad throws. I don't agree with all of them. They characterized some deflections as like it wasn't Josh Allen's fault. There was one against Tampa Bay where Josh literally throws it at the lineman and it bounces off his helmet. And he's like, that's a deflection. That's not Josh's fault. That was completely Josh Allen's fault. Mo, I watched that video and I think I saw 3 interceptions that really weren't Josh Allen's fault. And I don't know where you stand on this, but the whole, it was third down, so he just heaved it down the field. It's as good as a punt.
Oh, I've heard that.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you have preferred the first down? Like, it's not like it was the end of the half. I don't hold those against him. He had one of those. He had one end of the half Hail Mary that was picked off. I'm not going to hold that against him. But if it's 3rd and 13 and you're at midfield and he just heaves it down the field and you're like, oh, it was picked at the 5-yard line. It's as good as a punt. Don't you just want the first down there?
Right.
Like, correct. There was one of his picks against Miami this year. It was 4th and 2 at midfield. And this video was like, 4th and 2. It was going to be a turnover if they didn't get it. It's 2 yards. Don't you want him just to get the 2 yards? I know he threw the pick in the end zone, so it's a touchback. But wouldn't you just prefer the first down in that situation? So, Mo, I watched it, and I walked away with 13. 13 were bad throws. 13 were absolutely terrible decisions by Josh Allen of his 18 picks this season. I don't know where you came out on it, but Mo, at the end of the day, I don't care unless every single one is dropped like it was in your receiver's hands and he handed it to somebody else. 18 interceptions is ridiculous. Don't sit here and tell, he threw 18 picks, but they didn't really hurt the team that bad. 18 times he turned the ball over, Mo. 18. And that's just picks.
And the fumbles. Don't count the fumbles,
correct.
Right?
Correct.
Look, I obviously the first thing that came to mind when we brought this up was I was like, is this Tony Romo with a burner account? That's what I thought. It's okay to ride for your guy. You're clearly a Bills fan. You're clearly a Josh Allen fan. But at the same time, you can be honest about your guy. Talented, gifted player who is turnover prone. He just is. And that's okay.
That's what Brett Favre was.
Right. And people love Brett Favre. Matter of fact, they actually covered up all his flaws by talking about, look at the joy how he plays the game. Remember John Madden?
Gunslinger.
He was like, he's a gunslinger. Look at him headbutting his lineman. He just plays for the joy of the game. Never mind the 3 picks and the pick 6. Yeah, you can do that. You can do it. And again, Brett Favre was a great quarterback, but he had a tendency to throw picks. Josh Allen is a talented and gifted player, and when it's all said and done, he may very well end up in the Hall of Fame. But unless he changes his ways, he will be marked with that same reputation as a turnover-prone football player.
All right, Mo, close us out, sir.
Thank you guys so much for all the support in the chat. Thanks for looking out to us. Hey, look, we appreciate the support Chris and I do. Check out all the great content we have to offer for you at Wire to Wire Network. Check out Wire to Wire Network. Appreciate you.
We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. I promise you, at some point this week, Mo and I are going to give you our way too early NFL playoff predictions for next season. The LeBron talk just took a little long this morning. That's
a little
all.
bit longer.
A little bit long. Don't worry about it. It's coming this week. We want you to come back. So we're just going to leave you with a little something to look forward to. So we got that plus more. Gene will be on the show tomorrow. Will might be here as well, talking some NBA basketball. Speaking of NBA basketball, Mo, I have an interesting Kobe, Melo, Pau Gasol conversation to have with you tomorrow. So make sure you are here for that. All of that and more. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we will see you tomorrow morning.